Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from any part of the world that you are viewing from. This is the last edition of the Afro Eco Business Conversations of the International Solid Waste Association, Africa Regional Chapter. And it's so good to have a doctor from the University of Eswatini, Department of Chemistry. Dr. Tabile is here. You're welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining. We'd like to hear
Uh,
from you.
Thank you very much, John. John, thank you for the invitation. And yeah, we are closing the year.
Exactly. So good to have you. Okay, so very quickly, before we delve to the main topic, I'd like to ask you. I know women eh, play a critical role, so to say, in the fight against climate change, from being the first, responder to advocating for, sustainable policies. Some women are even leaders in climate education and advocacy.
Mm.
So, in all of these, I'm going to ask you, what actions have you been up to recently,
John,
as Dr. Abele
uh,
in this
that's a
regard?
that's a difficult one, John, to pinpoint, especially because I believe that the fight against climate change at this very day is something that we should be doing without even thinking.
About it?
Um, yes, so individually, there's a lot that we can do from our homes, from the things that we do on a daily basis, how we manage our waste. Women are the ones that manage waste in our homes mostly.
That's correct.
From educating our children, fortunately, I'm an educator. I work for the University of Eswatini. So
Oh,
I tried as much as possible to also mainstream climate change into my teaching in cases where it is not directly there, so that at least people are speaking about it. What I always notice that our students, they are still not sure when they have not learned, they are still not sure the difference between ozone depletion and climate change. So it brings a good discussions around that space as well, and what one can do in their individual spaces. Other things that one can do, I think me personally as well, having done a little bit of work around the space of greenhouse gases mitigation, especially, it also gives me a challenge when now I have to go and buy an air conditioner. Recently, I needed to buy an air conditioner. We know that some of the refrigerants, they are HFCs, which are greenhouse gases, hydrofluorocarbons, they are greenhouse gases. So now I find myself not just going normally to shop, and I'm married to someone who's not even a scientist. So I have to continuously explain why not this one? Why not this one? So yeah, those are some of the things. But at national level, I have been involved in a couple of projects for that are climate change related. I have done inventories. I've been involved in inventories for some of the greenhouse gases in the waste sector, in the IPU sector, industrial processes and product use. And we are currently reviewing, actually, we are preparing the inventory for this year in preparation for the BTR reporting. And I've also done work in the adaptation space as well, mainly for the water and the health sector, where we are looking at strengthening the MRV frameworks for reporting purposes. Because as a country, we know that if a country is party to the Paris Agreement, they have reporting requirements that they have to fulfill, but it is very difficult especially for our developing countries, because we don't have the systems in place that make sure that the reporting is done or just falls into place. In my country, we've done most of the reports, but they've been done through consultants, and that's not sustainable because when they go, international consultants, when they go, then who's going to do it? Next time again, we have to bring a consultant. So there are projects that are looking into that. I'm also involved in one for the CBIT, which is now a holistic one for the whole reporting for climate change in the country, including both mitigation and adaptation. So yeah, maybe in a nutshell, that's what I am doing that I can immediately think of in my mind. Yeah.
And, and that's fantastic. I must say, well done. That's interesting. You've enumerated a lot of points. And very profound for me is the fact that you educate people about this in the university. Going by the fact that students are, you know, big influencers when it comes to um, discussion around climate change. They influence a lot of things. They tell their friends who are around them to connection. What the difference between waste and climate change? Did you get
Um,
that?
yes. What's the connection between
Okay,
waste and
because
climate change?
yes, exactly. There are talks around, when you trash your waste, on, it gets to the waterways, it clogs the drains, and if it causes flooding, and these will cause high rise in sea level, and so on and so forth. So what's the connection? I beg your pardon. I guess my network is bad. If I'm breaking,
Yes, I think the
uh,
question is that what's the connection between waste and climate change? And I think you made an example with
exactly,
flooding. Yes. Maybe if I
exactly.
can just um, the waste management practices that we have, we've always been told manage your waste appropriately, and most of the time, the in our countries in Africa. How we manage waste, it depends on where you are. I'll speak mainly, I think it cuts across most African countries. In rural areas, you find that we ban our waste, we openly ban our waste. And in urban areas, we do have waste collection facilities which take waste to landfills. So what happens in the landfill is that when the waste is compacted, it creates an anaerobic environment for that waste over time, especially when we have a high content of organic waste. And when that waste decomposes, it produces methane, which is a greenhouse gas. Methane has got a higher global warming potential than carbon dioxide, which means it causes more damage to climate change, that if I can put it in a layman's terms like that, than carbon dioxide. So that methane when it escapes to the atmosphere, it contributes significantly to climate change. In some cases, in some countries, it's even advisable to flare the methane so that you convert it to carbon dioxide, which is less potent than methane. And if you look at the waste management practices in rural areas, there we ban the waste, and there we ban things like your plastics and all of those. They release carbon dioxide, not just from organic matter. The organic one is not so much of a concern in that space. Um, but then it results in the emission of carbon dioxide, which is also a problem because it is burnt in probably high quantities in rural areas. So we need to be able to ensure that we are not burning or we are treating waste in a sustainable way, or in a way that will protect the environment, where recycling can also help the amount of waste that is burnt. Things like composting can help the amount of organic waste going to landfills, hence reducing the methane that can be generated there. And it also goes to even wastewater, because also wastewater has the potential, or depending on how it is treated, it can have nitrates there. Under different conditions, it can produce N2O, nitrous oxide, which is also a greenhouse gas. And all of those things, they contribute in one way or the other. So we need to be strategic and find ways to ensure that our behaviors and our how we treat our waste does not contribute negatively to the environment.
That's fantastic. I asked you because you're around tech, around tech when it comes to this question as a chemistry lecturer. So you talk about methane flaring to carbon dioxide, which is more or less, dangerous. That's fantastic. So that takes me to our main topic now. There is this ISWA Africa statement, the African contribution to COP29, the Conference of Party 29. So can you tell us what are the highlights of this key points, this statement?
Yes, as the Africa chapter for ISWA, there was an initiative to find out what the waste how can I put it, the waste space looks like in Africa, and what are the key things that we can also advocate for in COP29 as far as management of waste and climate change is concerned. So there were a few countries where we had consultations to find out their waste management practices in that country. Are they efficient? There was a questionnaire that was sent to several countries in Africa so that they can give us, so that we can compare notes, what is happening in Eswatini, what is happening in Nigeria, what is happening, so that at least initiatives can be holistic for our region. We did that data collection, and we compiled a report. And from that report, we were able to draft a statement which we can take to the ISWA 2024 to the COP29, yes, COP29 for this year. Just to highlight, because the truth is we cannot separate waste management and climate change, especially knowing the processes that go on there. And we know that our countries are also, they also have challenges in many things. We've already highlighted that we do have challenges in getting systems in place. That doesn't end there. Challenges in waste management. We don't have the resources for what is required. In some cases, we need to recycle, but our countries are not even recycling those things. So we need to find ways, a balance, and also to advocate for what can be done, or what COP can promote, because the issue with climate change or any environmental problem is that it doesn't affect one country. If we are not doing well, many other people will be affected. So even though in the past, our Africa is not a major contributor to climate change, we are more sufferers from the effects of climate change. But any effort towards reducing the emissions of greenhouse gases can also go a long way, especially with the targets that we have right now.
Great. Okay, so I was saying, what's the success story? What's the perceived success story that you envisage of this COP29 ISWA Africa statement?
That's a very difficult one, especially because
What do you think will come out of this eventually? Can you hear
um
me?
Yes, I can. We can. I got that. I got that question. Thank you very much,
Okay.
John. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I think from this, because this is not the first statement that ISWA has taken. The only difference this time around is that there's a voice
Okay.
from the African countries. So in the statement that ISWA will send out, African voices are also included there. So the 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 objective of having this was to say we as Africans are the ones who know our situation as far as waste management is concerned, and we know our challenges,
Exactly.
and we live in our challenges. It's
Mm,
unlike somebody telling me that waste management in rural areas is being banned. In my rural home, I've experienced that. It's abstract or anything like that. So we're trying to say that we are here. There is expertise in the region. We understand the situation, and when solutions are being proposed, can African people be included in those
mm,
solutions? And we did highlight, there are several things in the statement that we
mm.
highlighted, which we feel can address, because this is a high level statement. It's not necessarily something that you can take today and implement, but it's a high level statement to say we need to promote circular economy approaches even in Africa. We need to integrate solid waste management, and we need to capacitate in African countries and build capacity through education and advocacy. We also need to collaborate with partners, and we want technology transfer to be in the African countries, not that things are done for us. And we also, having said all of that, we also need the financial support from the developed world because for obvious reasons. Yeah, so we are hoping that as COP makes decisions and moves forward with the fight against climate change, some of these can also be considered. I know that some of them were already part of the initiatives, most of them, but we are also emphasizing that for the African region, this is also what is pertaining.
So very much. That was elaborative enough. And can I take one or two questions from the audience? I have Deji Fawale on the call. Sage is here. Pendulo is here. Just one or two questions for our guests.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon from South Africa.
Good afternoon, South Africa.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's an interesting session. It's the end of the year. We're all exhausted. We appreciate the time that you're taking, and I've enjoyed listening to you, the questions and the answers, and especially this last response. It's not a question from me, but it's a comment that I think, now that when you mentioned what this means in your last response, I am actually thinking and saying maybe, we need to meet with ISWA and engage more on what has just happened. If you think about the number of people that participated from the breakfasts and then to the meeting that we had in Cape Town, that's a lot of Africans. And it's the first time that you have Africans participating in this process. And I'm not sure
That's right.
Understands what that means. And I think we should take that to the current president. He's new, he's eager to understand us and help us. So I think let's take this forward with him and see how and ensure that what we want to see happens in our region. Thank you.
I couldn't agree
Thank you
with you
very
more.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Dr. Tabile, do you have a word for that? Just one word to what she said.
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree with Bendulo more. I think it is true. There's a lot of
Mm.
Africans that contributed to this because the process started with breakfast meetings in different countries to get some of this information. We had questionnaires. We went to the conference in Cape Town. So we need to turn the volume louder.
Exactly. I like that. Turn the volume louder.
Yeah.
That's your parting word and the take home for me. That's fantastic.
Yes. And it's
Wale,
thundering. It's about to thunder here. So we always get scared when these things happen these days because sometimes it's been very hot. So we do get very terrible hailstorms. Last year we did get very terrible hailstorms. So now everybody, when it starts thundering, people start running away with their cars and stuff. It's
yeah.
unpredictable because I think the last heavy one, it damaged so many houses. So the issue of climate change is real.
Hmm. Turn the volume louder. I will not forget that maxim or mantra.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mr. Fowley, can we have you? Just a word or two.
I didn't hear all of Dr. Tabile's presentation, but thank you for coming on this program and sharing your knowledge and your expertise and what you're doing, have done for COP29 preparations and what you're doing in Eswatini. I did get a glimpse of some of the discussion you said earlier before the COP message was discussed, more so like greenhouse gas emissions control and trying to find ways around educating people. And I think one of the things that kind of stood out that I think might serve well is I don't think people actually have knowledge of the basics of what constitutes climate change. People still don't know
Hmm.
it exists. And I think
Hmm.
we need to start looking at maybe going back to basics and maybe educating. I think the rural areas actually have a better chance of following what needs to be done. I think in the civilized and like advanced cities and towns, I think everybody's kind of like maybe forgotten about it. But I think people that may have a better listening ear probably are the ones that are in the rural areas because I think they tend to want to do right to protect what they are doing. They do things the old-fashioned way. So when things are
Hmm.
modernized, it's very difficult to make change happen. Not that it won't happen, but it's very difficult. So I think going back to the rural areas where things are still like the old-fashioned type of doing things, I think they will probably listen more and probably follow through on what needs to be done to facilitate in advance what needs to be done to prevent climate change from getting worse. Um, Africa is a hotbed for that, I believe. And I think there's a way that those of us who are in that space can actually foster and provide that messaging, more of an outreach. And I think the chapter is like the prime candidate in that continent to do that. So Israel will support as much as they can, but I don't think we should focus our reliance on Israel. I think on our own, I think we need to, as a chapter, I think we need to advocate and we need to put some practices in place. Uh, and more importantly, get the decision makers, the government, get them involved. I think their support will help to facilitate some kind of an implementation plan to start to spread the message. So it's just our thought process that I think because I think we struggle in the cities to really listen, and do things. Everybody hears it, I will do it, but I just don't see enough of push going on.
Hmm.
So whether
Hmm.
it's by virtue of the government not having the right resources to push the agenda or setting limits, in the US they set limits, so they have people go around and check, and if you're not in compliance, guess what? You're in violation. Now, that's not going to be the same as in Africa because the resources are not always there to do that. But I
Yes.
think if, as a chapter, some type of collaboration is put in place where we lean on the government entities and say, hey, you need to help to send the word out. I think that will slowly ramp up. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but I think, a little bit of a leaning on the government officials. The industries will tell you they're doing it, but there's no one watching over them. So you're going to have some few that are really doing right and pushing the envelope. You're going to have those that say, unless someone tells me, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. Because if it impacts their bottom number, they will do the bare minimum. So I think that topic of climate change, I think is very important. I think mitigating emissions is important. Preventing open burning of waste, closing these dump sites or controlling them. And that's what we advocate, and that's what we do. That's what I do. So I take pride in trying to like have some of these dump sites just being a control system where you're not going to get rid of them overnight because there's no financial support to transition to something engineered. So we don't expect things to happen overnight, but I think education is important. So these dump locations, you have to also think about the social economic aspect of it. You can't just drive those people away that are on those sites because they make their living there. But they need to be informed that while you're setting the waste on fire, this is what you're doing to your community, to your future generation. So I think outreach above everything else is important. And I think it needs to start from that rural sector. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. That was quite profound too. You mentioned somebody I could say that we should turn the volume louder in the area of more education, more advocacy, and by leaning to more on government to help us with many of this. That's fantastic. That's profound for me and instructive. We need to start moving from the old ways of doing things, business as usual. We need to transit from business as usual to um, new ways of doing things, and more education is very key. What do you think, Doctor?
I do agree that we do need to do all of those, Faole. I think those are some of the things that we need to do. And in our different spaces, we need to do that. And the issue of rural areas, in some cases, in some rural areas, it's actually even easier because they are not used to the fast life and technology savvy life. Hence, it's easier to go back to the basics. And I also think that the involvement of children is also quite key because when you teach them very young, I always notice with my children now that when you go and you say, why is that one littering? Why is that one doing this and this? So at least they grow up with that in their mind that you're not supposed to discard waste anyhow. So all of those things can be taught in our homes, or also I don't know how the education system can pick it up, but they are also so much into social media as well. That's where we can leverage the issue of information sharing. I think the issue of recycling as well is something that the circular economy aspect is something that also we need to seriously consider and think about how we can leverage on that, because when it is done right, it can create jobs and it can also act positively for the climate change and the environment in general. I think the last thing that I heard from Deji was that the issue of collaboration. I think we cannot emphasize that enough. No one person can achieve much alone. We need to collaborate so that our efforts they speak louder, if I can put it like that.
That's correct. You kept saying louder, louder, and I like that. So I believe the chapter will lead the vanguard as regards this, and of course, leaning to government to achieve many of this. And you mentioned something very striking, that children are strong influencers. It's very good to catch them young at that stage. Maybe we should concentrate on that demography of human existence. The children, more advocacies in the schools, more awareness around them. And this is their formative years, and they get to pick things up quickly. And that informs their attitudinal and behavioral change over time. Thank you very much for this.
A question or contribution?
Sage? Okay. Hello, good to have you on the call.
It's Afro from South Africa. I don't have much to say. I'm still a student under the DFFE, Department of Forestry and Fisheries, and we're working on the climate. There are groups of climate and waste. So we go around doing campaigns with communities. So this initiative is very valuable to me to be part of it. So I'm still learning. So I'm just here to learn and to take more, to take what I'm learning here to my workplace. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. That's part of the advocacy. It's interesting that you are taking this to your workplace. You turn the volume louder.
Yes, she's now the converted, so she'll be the ambassador.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, good one. Good one. Thank you very much. All right. We are coming to the end of this program. I want to thank Doctor. I know that you have a very busy itinerary. We've had days over and over again, and thank you for availing us your time, despite a very busy itinerary and schedule. I really appreciate it, and I hope that if we beckon on you next time, you would oblige us and join us here again.
Thank you, John, and thank you for your patience. I know that I take time to respond sometimes, but I'm happy that when I opened your message and I just saw I remember the time I was on my way out and I remembered, oh my goodness, John will kill me because I've been in meetings the whole day, so I just and I'm really grateful that I was also part of this. And I'm also learning from everyone here, from the process, actually. And I just want to also thank Mpendulo for consistently pushing for Africa as when it comes to waste issues, ISWA and COP. I think she has energy for days.
Yes, you can say that again. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. It was value for our time. It was value for our time. We really do appreciate. Please send our regards to the university community and all the women advocates for climate change mitigation. It's a great pleasure having you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I'm also honored to be here today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.